It has been more than a week ever since a civilian coup in Bangladesh when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was forced to resign and leave the country after violent protests erupted. While the overall death toll in the student-led protests has crossed 300, one of the key targets in the nationwide violence have been the country's minority communities, including Hindus, Christians and Ahmadiyas. As civilian disorder continues all over the streets of Bangladesh, hundreds of Hindu community members, especially in villages, found themselves to be soft targets of Islamist radical groups and criminals. Over 40 temples belonging to the Hindus were also targeted in this mob violence, Reuters reported. Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Okya Parishad has reported 205 incidents of persecution against members of the minority communities across 52 districts of Bangladesh. The Daily Star, among the frontline organizations of the Bangladesh, reported that Hindus' houses and business establishments in 27 districts of Bangladesh were attacked and looted. The attacks on Hindus in the aftermath of Hasina's ouster has put the spotlight on the country's religious minorities. Hindus make up 8% of the Bangladesh's population. Since Bangladesh's independence in 1971, the proportion of religious minorities has decreased from 23.1% to around 8%. This decline has been largely attributed to the mass migration of Hindus, who make up the largest minority, followed by Buddhists, Christians, and all others who have faced attacks and continue to migrate out of Bangladesh. As the Hindu community continues to protest globally over the recent attacks and systematic persecution of Hindus, what has been the history of the hapless Hindus in Bangladesh, and after the recent turmoil, what will be their future? The 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War was marked by widespread violence, including targeted attacks on Hindus. The Hindu population in Bangladesh at that time, East Pakistan, declined from 23% in 1947 to 14% in 1971 due to targeted violence and forced exodus. On March 25, 1971, the Pakistani military began a 10-month-long campaign of genocide against the ethnic Bengali and Hindu religious communities in East Pakistan. In the eyes of the Pakistani military, Hindu, Bengali and Indian identities were one and the same. Although Hindus were a special target of the Pakistani military, Bengali Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, as well as other religious groups were also significantly affected. By the end of the first month, in March 1971, 1.5 million Bengalis were displaced. By November 1971, 10 million Bengalis, the majority of whom were Hindu, had fled to India. Although precise figures are difficult to obtain, approximately 3 million people were killed and at least 200,000 women were raped. Bangladeshi journalist and policy analyst Anusha Hussain asserts many experts put that number closer to 400,000 women and girls who were raped, mass raped, and imprisoned for months in the notorious rape camps. The atrocities committed during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War have been recognized as genocide by several countries, including Bangladesh. In 1988, General Irshad, as President of Bangladesh, amended Bangladesh's constitution and made Islam the official religion of the country. Until then, Bangladesh had been a secular nation, with secularism even being penned down as one of the pillars of the constitution. Many note that Irshad's move, which was aimed at gaining popularity, was in line with his mentor, General Ziaur Rahman's belief. Rahman had first begun the process of Islamization of the constitution in the 1970s, and Irshad continued in his regime with the same policy. Irshad introduced the controversial 5th and 8th Amendments, respectively, which had the effect of erasing the founding pro-secular principles of the country. Many watchers note that these amendments brought about changes in the country's politics and provided a conducive ground for Islamists to create and in fact grow their influence. Later in 2011, Sheikh Hasina and her Awami League repealed the 5th Amendment and reinstated secularism in the constitution. She also declared that Islam would be the state religion. Sheikh Hasina also passed a law that ensured that the state would provide equal status and equal rights to those who practice other religions, including the religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. She also said that the principle of secularism shall be realized by the elimination of communalism in all its forms, the granting of political status for any religion, the prevention and the abuse of religion for political purposes, and the ending of discrimination against or persecution of persons on religious grounds. It is now left to be seen if the principle of secularism is actually practiced in Bangladesh following Sheikh Hasina's ouster. On 4th August 2024, two Hindu councillors, Hardhan Roy and Kajal Roy, were lynched to death in Rangpur of Bangladesh. In Sirajganj, journalist Pradeep Kumar Bhaumik from the Hindu minority, who was the Raiganj correspondent of Daily Khabar Patra, was lynched to death at the Raiganj Press Club. On 5th of August, eminent Bangladeshi singer and musician Rahul Ananda's 140-year-old house was attacked and gutted by mobsters. Over 3,000 rare music instruments, handcrafted by Rahul Ananda, were burned to ashes and his furniture was looted. Rahul Ananda continued to beg before the mobsters to stop, but the mobsters continued to in fact loot and completely gutted his house. ISKCON has also confirmed that their temple in Mehranpur of Khulna division of Bangladesh was also attacked and destroyed by the Islamist radicals. Meanwhile, thousands of Hindus over the weekend organized protests across Bangladesh, including in the capital city of Dhaka, demanding protection and justice. The Hindu groups of Bangladesh are demanding a separate ministry of minorities to investigate, in fact, and give protection to the minorities, a commission to investigate the cases of killing, arson, attack on Hindu temples and business establishment over the last many weeks, and finally, they demand a 10% reservation for minorities in the Bangladesh parliament. Globally as well, protests have been organized by Hindu groups in US, UK, Australia, Finland, Malaysia, India, and outside the United Nations headquarters in New York, demanding immediate action by the Bangladesh interim government against Islamist radicals who are targeting Hindus and for the protection of the minorities of Bangladesh. The interim government in Bangladesh, led by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, has called for an end to the violence and vowed to protect the minorities. On ground, however, no steps are visible to protect the minorities of Bangladesh in reality.